are big cake eaters, and today we're gonna make a cake that I was very privileged to make when I was growing up. It also just so happens to be one of my favorite cakes. I'm getting the worst part, in my opinion, about making this cake out of the way first, which is shredding your carrots. And you want to make sure you shred them through a fine shredder. Just shred the right amount, and we're going to set those aside while we do the rest of our stuff. The next thing we're going to do is make our batter. We start with our dry ingredients, which is flour. Then we're going to add some sugar to that. Next we add baking powder. And I don't know if this is common knowledge or not, but if you buy baking powder, you want to make sure it's aluminum free. Then we're going to add some baking soda, and I'm also only making half of a batch of what's in the recipe. Next we add some cinnamon. Then you want to mix all of that stuff together. And whenever I do this method, I always like to make like a hole in the middle of my dry ingredients. Mom always called it a well. Then we're going to add cooking oil. I'm using avocado. And also, I forgot to do this, but we're going to add some salt. That should have been added with other dry ingredients, but it works fine this way too. Add your vanilla, and we're going to add eggs as well. Then we just beat all of that stuff in until it's smooth. And I just realized that I forgot to add this to the recipe in the cookbook, which is add milk. But if you do buy the cookbook and the milk isn't in there yet, just remember you have to add 1/2 cup milk per recipe. 1/4 cup if you're making a half a recipe. Just make sure you mix that in with the rest of your wet ingredients. And we're going to add our shredded carrots, and you're going to need some diced pineapples. Crushed pineapples work too, just mix them both in there. Then we're going to pour our batter into our cake pan. I'm going to just stick this in the oven to bake it quick, and you're going to have a delicious cake. Once your cake is done, you should pull it out of the oven. It should look something like this, although it might not be this dark depending on what your oven is. And then we're going to put it on a crate and let it cool down. Now, if we wanted a cake to get eaten at home, no matter how good the cake was, we had to frost it. And for this cake, we always used cream cheese frosting. Our two main frostings at home were cream cheese and caramel. For the cream cheese frosting, I always just kind of guess. For a 9x13 cake, you want a full block of cream cheese. For a half cake, just use a half block. Then you add a little bit of softened butter and just cream those two together. Now this is personal, but I always add a little bit of salt just because it brings the flavor out, and I'm known for adding salt to everything. Then I also add a little bit of vanilla, and now you want a little bit of cream or milk, just a tad. Then we're just going to start adding powdered sugar, and you just want to add until it has the texture that you like it to have. Now once your cake is cooled off, or in this case almost cooled off because I'm impatient, we're going to frost it. And even though me and my mom did not agree on a lot of things, sadly, I will always be grateful that she taught me how to do this stuff. Because my two favorite things in this world are working in the kitchen and taking care of babies. And I had 11 younger siblings, so I got to do both a lot. Now this is what the cake looks like. It's still steaming a little. Let's take a bite and make sure it's good. I bit right into a pineapple chunk. Oh man, that is delicious. You have got to make this. It is so good. And the recipe I use is in my Amish cookbook. And remember, if that cookbook doesn't call for milk, you have to add a 1/2 cup of milk to the recipe. And that cookbook is only available on my website, socialsbylavina.com, which you can type into your browser to find it, or go to my profile or the caption. Enjoy!